watching GCTV. I'm here with Kaia Jackson from the Brick House. Welcome.
Thank you, Malerie.
Can you tell me about the Brick House? What does the organization do?
Well, the organization does many different things. It has many hats, but one of our primary programs is a teen drop-in center that runs Monday through Thursday and after-school hours. And we also have parent and family programming, and that also includes queer family nights. And then we just opened a food pantry in the past year. And we have lots of arts programming, both woven into our Brick House programs that I just talked about, and also just through community space use, because we have downstairs we have the front room, which is a venue for like music shows, dance shows, all kinds of community groups in general. And then upstairs there's a movement studio where there are dance classes and rehearsals, and also community gatherings that benefit from a nice wide open space.
What is your job in the organization?
So my job is called the Community Arts and Engagement Coordinator, and it's kind of a position that weaves into all the other programs. It's not kind of its own program at this point, and so I do what I can to support teen programming, to have guest artists coming in, and I do some mutual aid organizing and community education. We're going to be gearing up for more of that in September of this year. I run the Queer Family Night once a month, and also just help to be a liaison between different parts of the Brick House. For example, sometimes that's between the staff and the space committee that helps support the community in accessing the space. Sometimes that is, I'll step in as like a mediator or a trainer when there is some kind of conflict that needs support, or some larger group dynamics that we are just needing to make space to talk about. And so my position is kind of a shapeshifter, kind of like the Brick House, and I do my best to bring my skills to the table and then respond to community needs as they emerge. So my position kind of changes from month to month and season to season.
How did you get this job?
I kind of created it. I had been teaching the youth improv class for the first year that we did that, which was just 5 hours a week. And then I was kind of a temporary support for the parent and family program one summer. And then as the new executive director, Tom, was starting, he and I just kind of started to put our heads together, and I told him, like, I'm really interested in like offering these specific things to the Brick House, and kind of building on what I'm already doing, and helping to cross-pollinate between the different programs, and help to create some new programs. And he was really receptive and open to that, and so we made like a job description, and then kind of figured out how to get creative with the funding that we had on the table to be able to fund that position.
What was your career path like prior to working at the Brick House?
Wow, what a good question. It's been, in some ways it's been non-linear, in some ways it's had a lot of like through lines that are very consistent. But I went to Hampshire College and did a lot of studying interdisciplinary arts and also cultural studies more generally, and social change. And so those were always things that I was really interested in putting together in my professional work. And then coming out of college, I did some food service, and then ultimately found my way into the AmeriCorps program. I used to work at the United Arc in Great Falls as their, like, what was it called then? It was basically like an arts and events organizer. And so that really like ignited my passion for facilitating programs for folks locally. And then that year ended. I was so sad, but it ended, because all AmeriCorps years do. And so then I transitioned to working at the Pathways Therapeutic After School program that was through ServiceNet at that time. Worked there for 3 years, and also did a lot of like expressive arts facilitation and counseling, more generally. And then from there, I went to divinity school at Earlham School of Religion. And I was really interested in thinking about how to use more writing in the work that I do with folks, and also just to have a little bit more time internally to figure out what I believe in and what's my purpose in the world, what's my calling, and how to develop my own voice and ability to express myself. And then I came back to the area and I worked for a year with WHAM Theater in the Berkshires. I worked virtually 1 year for Sacred Spaces, which was all about abuse prevention. But ultimately, I felt really drawn to working locally. And that's part of why I love working at the Brick House so much, because it's literally like a 10, 12-minute walk away from my house. So when my car breaks down, I just walk to work. And I get to like directly serve the community that I'm living in, and like feel like there's just a lot of relationship building that is so much a part of my work that sometimes it doesn't actually matter as much like what the project is I'm working on. What matters is like the relationships that are the foundation of that work.
Who has inspired you most in your career or community work?
Oh, wow. Well, the person who came to mind, who flashed through my consciousness when you asked that, is Kathy Frazier. She was a teacher, the gifted specialist in my middle school and high school back in Ohio, where I grew up. And she kind of like, beyond inviting me into the program, like she kind of took a special interest in me and was like, I see great things for you. Like she just kind of had that energy, and she took me to auditions and rehearsal for community theater a number of times, and would take me to get chai tea and just be a part of community. And then we created this whole program. When I was in high school, we created this whole program for middle school girls called the Star Girl Project, based on Jerry Spinelli's novel, that was all about like supporting girls in that age group and expressing themselves. So you can probably see how that was like helped me to kind of find my way as a person, and also like ignited my passion for doing that kind of thing in community.
When you were younger, did you think this would be the job you would have?
Oh, wow. I don't know about that. I was really interested, for a while I really wanted to be a composer. Like I was inspired. I think I saw Mozart, the movie Mozart, and was just like, and I had a piano in my house, so that was a thing for a while. And I tried to teach myself piano for many years and made some progress, but maybe came to a stopping point at a certain time. And I wanted to be like an ice skating, singing actress. That was a thing that I wanted. And then that kind of transitioned to just wanting to be an actress for a while. And that was, I used to go to the library and print off pages, like too many pages about like how to audition, how to act. Like that was just kind of my thing all the way until I got to Hampshire College. And then my focus really changed to like the question of like how do people heal trauma, and what does art have to do with that? And so yeah, there's a big transition there, but still feels like maybe a natural trajectory.
What advice would you give to your younger self based on what you know now?
Well, honestly, I feel like my younger self, my youngest, like 0 through 18, I think I did a good job. Really not a lot of regrets, because I got myself to college. But once I got to college, I think I would have given myself the advice to like take life less seriously, like take things like academic success, like grades and evaluations, like a lot less seriously, because I was kind of in a mindset of like perfectionism and overworking myself, and that served me for a while and then it didn't anymore. But it kind of took me many years to like let go of that way of being. And I wish I had like taken things a little less seriously and given myself a little more time to just like build relationships and have fun.
What does a normal day at work look like for you?
Oh, it's a funny question because like the brick house is just not very, I don't think of it as normal. So, but yeah, brick house days are always a little bit different. Some of my days are like working from home, just like kind of sending emails, making posters, making calls with community partners and collaborators. Following up on things, ideas that people have had, seeing what the next step might be, helping to do outreach for things. And then some days are in person at the brick house, either for meetings or for Teen Center. And sometimes at Teen Center I facilitate, like right now I've been doing this Practical Magic series, which is all about like how do we use things, mundane things like herbs in the garden to create magic, and things that we can actually like use or gift to people. So that's been really fun, and we'll be kicking that off again in September.
What is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, let's see. I would say my favorite part of my job is like the moment when like people are no longer strangers to the brick house, where like somebody's come back a number of times and just like you can tell that that transition has happened from like kind of scoping it out, being like, is this the place for me, to like being like just walking in, like being like, I belong here, like that sense where they're like kind of like at ease, like immediately go over to talk to somebody that they already know, like go to get food without having to be like invited or urged to do that, like just that sense of like, all right, like I'm just here. That's my favorite moment, witnessing that.
What is the hardest part of your job?
Good question. Well, I would say either like administrative tasks that sometimes build up quickly for me, because a lot of my job is administrative. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happens, and so things like getting in receipts on time can be hard for me. And then what else? And I'd say there are also, because the brick house is like a community resource center, like we have so many different visions and dreams and needs in the community that we try to meet at different moments. And sometimes it can be hard when there are so many different things all at once and perspectives around how we should meet those needs, whether from the outside or from the inside, when we have sometimes limited capacity. And so sometimes we have to have hard conversations and just deal with all the feelings that come up when there are those differences in perspective. And I think it can be an opportunity for us to grow and build relationships, but it can be hard sometimes too.
What skills do you think are essential for someone in your position?
What a good question. Essential. Well, it's funny, I want to highlight the things I'm good at and not the things I'm struggling with. But I'd say we kind of built my position around this like desire to put arts and community together, and find the many ways that those two things can kind of interact and reinforce each other and help each other grow. And so I would say like a love for both art and community is really like the nuts and bolts of it.
What keeps you motivated in this line of work?
Well, I'd say, going back to, you could probably guess what I'm going to say, relationships. It's like a lot of the people who I serve now, like because I live in the community, like I run into them at the park or the supermarket or like literally in my neighborhood and get to say hi. And so I think it motivates me knowing and seeing that like what we do is meaningful and impactful to them. Because sometimes in the moment when you're like sending an email, it's like easy to forget that, but then it's like when I get to see them in their lives and just know how what we do at the Brick House weaves into that, like it really helps to give me perspective and feel affirmed in the work.
How do you balance administrative responsibilities with community engagement?
Wow. I feel like that question was written for me. I would say it's always a juggling act, and I think that's probably true for a lot of people who work in nonprofit or human services. It's like I think we all have different like tools that we use to try to find that balance, and sometimes I still drop balls. I do, or I turn things in late or things like that. But one thing that helps me is like just like I write a lot of to-do lists, and then I'll like star things when they're really important, and like put dates to things that I know can wait, and just using multiple calendars and to-do lists helps me a lot.
I understand the Brick House does a lot of different things for the community. Can you speak about how the Brick House came to doing some of the programs it has today?
Wow. Well, I could tell you a long history, and there's probably history I don't know. There's definitely history I don't know. But the Brick House started originally as it was in response to multiple incidents of domestic violence in town. And so even though we don't primarily serve DV survivors at this time, that was kind of at the outset something that was so important to the community, like to be able to respond to an incident of violence by creating a space where resources could be shared. And then over time, I think it's grown to try to in a lot of different moments to try to meet different needs that the community has presented as needing. And so there are a lot of chapters in that journey, but I would say a lot of it has just been like back and forth between staff and community members, and then finding grants that can begin to meet some of those needs, and then seeking feedback on how things are going, and sometimes changing a program or letting it go, and sometimes creating a new program. So there's a lot of like just multiple factors at play and communication along the way that helps us to kind of clarify what we're doing when.
Can you speak about the history of the Brick House? Why was it formed originally?
I feel like some others would have more perspective who like lived through the moment. But I, as I mentioned, was the incidents of the DV survivors who actually there were murders that happened of DV survivors, unfortunately. I know that's very intense, but that is what happened in the community. So that's part of what motivated this like collective sense of like we need to do something different here.
How has the Brick House changed since its inception?
I feel like different people hold different pieces of history around this. But I think that there are moments when the Brick House has, one of the things that I can share is that before 2020, it was like often used as a recording studio and a music venue, and was really like, had a whole scene, like a whole culture around that scene. That engaged a lot of community members, including upper teens and younger adults, and also just adults in general. And then 2020 hit, and between that and some other factors, that scene really like kind of dwindled for many years. And very recently, we're starting to, we have now a number of folks who've been trained in space use for the front room specifically to use the audio system and prepare for shows. and we're trying to expand that group over time. So there have been in the last 6 months more music and arts shows than in the past, I'd say, couple of years. And so that's one thing that has kind of shifted, waxed and waned, and right now it's, I guess it's waxing, and I'm really excited to see how that all unfolds in the future.
What are the biggest needs of Turners Falls, and how does the Brick House address these needs?
Well, I feel like, yeah, what a full question. I almost would want to hear that question asked in a like town forum or community where people could even be in small groups and talk about what is on their heart and what their biggest need is, because I think it really is different for different people depending on their life experience and their access to resources. But certainly one of the big things we're talking about right now is food security, because food prices keep going up, programs keep getting cut around food, so that our food pantry has expanded already in the short time it's been around, which is like less than 6 months, from like a small to a medium or something like that. And we're now part of a larger community conversation and coalition that's trying to plan ahead to amplify the collective resources and access to food as the years go by. And so there's a whole lot more that could be said about that, but I would say food is getting to be a much bigger issue right now.
What are some of the most what are some of the most impactful programs that Brick House has run recently?
Well, let's see. So one that we just we're almost complete. Actually, I'm glad that you asked this question because I get to advertise a little bit. But we contracted with a few mural artists, Nellie and Clark, locally to help lead the way with a mural project, because there had been a beautiful mural and one that was like a very impactful process to create with teens back in like, I'm forgetting the year that it was originally created, but I believe it was the 2000s in that decade, on the side of an adjacent building with these beautiful silhouettes of each of the teens and painters, where they wrote lyrics of songs that were meaningful to them and individualized art within the silhouettes. And over time, that mural just unfortunately degraded, as things do when they're outside under the elements. And so the building owner had requested that we make a change or might well have painted over it. And so we ended up having access to a grant that allowed us to envision a whole new mural. And so right now, basically the mural itself is complete, and it's full of like beautiful, like and very adorable little animals doing things that people at the Brick House or in the community might do together. And it was kind of envisioned with youth and with some community input. And then our final step of that is going to be in September, having kind of a like ribbon cutting kind of ceremony where we install a plaque that tells the story of the old mural and invites community members to also engage with the new mural and share stories between old and new murals if they want to. So we're really looking forward to that.
How does the Brick House decide which programs to prioritize?
That is the question. I think we're trying to figure that out internally right now. The staff and board have been having these retreats every 3 or 4 months to try to figure out how we make those kinds of decisions. Sometimes there are decisions we have to make quickly or in the moment, and sometimes we get to be more planful and strategize for the next 5 years. So I'd say it's through a lot of collaboration between staff and board and community members that we figure those things out.
How does the Brick House collaborate with other community organizations or local government?
Oh, excellent question. question. Well, through many, many different ways. Some of them are like just building relationships by like stopping by the restaurant, the Dream House across the street and hanging a poster, and then they come over for queer family night. Like some are organic connections like that, and some are more kind of solidified in committees or in grants. Like we do a lot of collaboration with Heartwing, which is also across the street, and definitely try to sometimes collaborate in creating programs, or just sharing resources that one is doing with the other. And I know that both organizations are on this new domestic violence task force that's been created in the area. So there are a lot of different ways that collaboration happens. And yeah, it just depends on the thing. I'll also say recently we had a great collaboration with River Culture. They like had this like blocked off the whole street, 3rd Street, to have this outdoor concert, and then the rain was going to come, and then we were able to actually host it in the Brick House as one of the venues. So that was really special, and we're hoping to do things like that again.
What are some of the biggest challenges the Brick House faces today?
Well, I would say it's like expanding need in the community meets limited capacity in like financial and staff resources. And so it would like, I think there are like 2 full-time staff members at the Brick House, and everybody else is part-time, and I believe. And the staff is still under 10 or something like that. And so it's just like a small staff for a really ambitious bunch of programs that keep getting bigger. And so we tend to be, I think we're facing a moment where we're growing so fast, but we don't yet or always have the resources to then meet all of the different components of that growth to fully support it. And so it's just a kind of push and pull sometimes between growth and capacity and figuring out what that balance is.
Have the needs of the community changed in recent years? If so, how?
It's a great question. I definitely want to lift up our immigrant community, and I think that they've been very impacted by recent policy changes of the federal government, and in general, the fear of ICE raids, I think, has really impacted some local immigrants, and even feeling like they belong in the community or they're safe to walk outside or get resources. And so, yeah, that's a big thing that we're seeing and talking about, and trying to find ways to meet needs where we can for that population.
What are some barriers the organization encounters when trying to help the community?
Can you say that one again?
What are some barriers the organization encounters when trying to help the community?
Barriers. Well, I think that one thing is that like once people know who we are and what we do, like they often feel safe to come back, or to share about what the Brick House does with others who might benefit. But sometimes we still don't, because of our limited capacity with staff and whatnot, like there's still a lot of people in the area who might not have even heard about the Brick House. And so I'd say we kind of have like an outreach marketing issue where it's like, because we're serving a lot of people, it doesn't always feel like an issue. But then when we find out, when people like learn about us and are like, oh my gosh, like I wish I'd known about this 10 years ago, like then it feels like, oh, like I wish we could have gotten the word out a little bit better. So I'd say just, outreach is a piece that we'd like to have more infrastructure for as time goes on.
How can people get involved at the Brick House?
Excellent question. Well, there are many ways depending on who that person is and what they're looking for, but Certainly, if our programs appeal to them, whether the youth teen drop-in center or parent family programming or food pantry, like they can definitely check out our calendar on our website to find a program or what's happening within each of those programs. They could totally come to a community event that's happening on the weekend that they see listed on that same calendar. If somebody's interested in volunteering, they can email me or Hannah, the youth director, and we can do our best to find an opportunity or at least give them a chance to engage with the program to figure out what might be a good next step for them and what they might want to offer. And then, of course, we accept donations and financial support from community who want to offer it. And we definitely have like a link to donations on our website as well. And some years we do different kinds of campaigns as well, to like the 5K that we recently did to specifically raise money to shore up those gaps that we have.
How can people support the Brick House?
Well, I feel like I might have just covered it in that other question, actually. But in addition, I would say, like, I would just want to, like, warmly invite community members to, like, check out something that we're doing. I know it can sometimes be hard when you're, like, you've never been to a place before and you don't really know how you're going to feel walking in the door. And it can feel like a risk. It can feel kind of scary. And I would just say, like, find a friend to go with you, or give us a call in advance if there's something we can do to support that first interaction, because we'd really love to meet people in our community.
What are your hopes for the future of the Brick House?
Let's see. Well, I would love to see us have a really robust volunteer program where, people feel like they get to like be a part of creating something together. And I would really like to see us being a place where we can have sometimes hard community conversations or like collective education and skilling up with each other. So that people feel in the community, even if they're not a youth or a parent or a family member of somebody in the programming, that they feel like the Brick House is a place where like they could seek some kind of community interaction, especially in conversations around how to like use our collective resources at like mutual aid to make things better in the world.
Are there any new programs or initiatives on the horizon?
New programs or initiatives?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with the mutual aid that I mentioned, we're hoping to bring in a trainer from East Hampton to teach anybody who wants to learn about what's called pod mapping. And pod mapping is all about like organizing at a very grassroots level in one's own community, often just like a neighborhood or a street-wide effort to join forces and share resources with each other and build kind of a unit of people who are really looking out for each other, sharing what they have to share and also asking for help when they need help. So we hope to bring in that trainer sometime in the early fall and be able to, hopefully that will just be the beginning of a longer conversation and community resourcing efforts.
What legacy do you hope to leave through your work at the Brick House?
Legacy, wow. Let's see, gosh, I haven't really put a lot of thought into that directly. It's a cool question. Well, Maya Angelou said this thing. It's like, people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And I think that the best I could hope for would be that somebody remembers how I made them feel.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
That's like always my favorite question to ask people. But I feel like you asked me so many good questions. Like, I feel really complete, and I'm really grateful for your time.
No problem. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
And no problem. And thanks for watching GCTV. See you next time.